ultimately, the type of person who is happy with a pill to solve a problem, whether it's blood pressure, cholesterol, whatnot, ultimately that person is not our type of person because they want a magic pill. And this isn't a
Mm-hmm.
magic pill type of process. We're happy to work with people who are on pills, no doubt. We
Mm-hmm.
evaluate, look at their medications, look at all the side effects, no doubt. But it's got to be somebody who sees the benefit and the value of getting off of those pills,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not only in terms of money that they're saving, but in terms of the side effects that they're experiencing with those pills. And
Yeah.
that's just noise that's getting in the way of that mind body connection that we talked about. The less
Right.
pills you're on, the less noise there is, the more you can hear.
Hello, listeners. This was a super fun interview I had with Patrick Laine. No, not Patrick Laine, as in the Winnipeg Jets, Patrick Laine, but I think the energy from Patrick is just as exciting, if not more exciting, than a Jets game. Patrick is a PhD scientist and serial entrepreneur who cares about quality of life. He is a health mentor who has founded and operates multiple businesses as well as a nonprofit organization, all in the last 8 years. Patrick is passionate about all aspects of wellness, including environmental, social, emotional, occupational, mind, and physical. His websites include mentorswhomove.org, gettingfitfaced.com, and processmercury.com. So get set for a super exciting, high vibrational interview. All right. Welcome to episode number 11 of I Think I Can podcast, a place where I will teach you to think differently in order to get different results. Now, today I have with me a health coach, or how should I describe?
A health optimization expert.
Okay, there you go. I love that. Okay, Patrick Laine, and he's from gettingfitfaced.com. I love the name of your website. And I just thought it would be really neat for Patrick and I to have a conversation today about, you know, I don't know, just what is able to kind of move people to make changes in their life that they've been wanting to do for a long time now, whether they come to you know a coach, a therapist, it doesn't really matter because we all do the same thing in terms of, like, let's try to have you think of your opportunities in life maybe differently than what you thought previously. And that's a great segue into asking you, Patrick, when was there a time in your life where you use the whole mentality of I think I can?
Uh, well, I mean, for different, obviously, when you're involved in sports as a kid, it's, what there is in, my dad used to say all the time, if you think you can, you can. And then there's the old, when we're in the minivan going up a hill in the mountains and on vacation, and be like, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. We kind of chant that when we were little kids, as we are trying to get up the mountain in our little two-wheel drive minivan. Uh,
Yeah.
so there's, and then of course there's, I think, as kids, and it's funny because just last night I was at my son's football practice, and they were all separated by ages, and close to where I was standing, there were these little kids. I mean, 4 and 5 years old, and you know, it was very clear to me that watching those 4 and 5 year olds, they were doing everything. They were laying on the ground, kicking around. Some of them were playing tag. This is football practice, and
Mhm.
the coach was very patient. He was trying to manage them and say, "Oh, here's the ball, do this, do that." And but there's like 10 kids out there, and they're all 5 ways from Sunday running around. And he would try to count to get them corralled. But the point is, at that age, you're just a dreamer. right?
Mm-hmm.
You're literally living with the dreams that you were born to live with. And at some point, and it's different for different people, right? But at some point in life, you start to get those dreams beat out of you, right? Now,
Yeah.
for some people, it starts at 5 years old, with
Mm-hmm.
it's poor parenting or whatnot, or what.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are fortunate to dream until maybe they're 15 or 18. But at some point, almost every person reaches a point where they get those dreams start to get beat out of them. Be
Mm-hmm.
realistic,
Mm-hmm.
do it this way, what this is the way that I did it, this is the way your parents did it, this is the way your grandparents did it, this is the way it's done. It's always done this way.
Yeah.
And so your dreams kind of go by the wayside. Next thing you know, you wake up and you're 30, 40, 50 years old, and you realize, wait a minute, this is not where I want to be. This is not, but I'm living for them. I'm not living for me. I'm doing, so you kind of lose track. And that's why, we talk about midlife crisis, right? But that's why
Yeah.
that's why that happens, because we go through a period where we essentially have our dreams beaten out of us. And then we get back to a place eventually where we realize, I want those dreams. Like
Mm-hmm.
I actually care about those dreams. And some people never get back to it. Some people just, but a lot of us, I feel like we do reach a place again in our adulthood where we realize, I want to reconnect with my inner child, right? The
Mm-hmm.
dreams that I had when I was 5 years old or 10 years old or whatnot. It
Mm-hmm.
happens to a lot of us. So then we realize, you know what? I think I can do those things.
Right.
I've lived for 20 years, 30 years, realizing that, or being told that I couldn't. And now, you know what? Fuck it. It's now or never, because I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what was, so tell me about your personal journey. Like, did you come to that realization one day, or how did you get to be uh, a coach?
So I grew up in a complete, a family full of teachers, a family full of government workers, a family full of by the book. You do it this way, you go get a pension, right? Uh, and you save up. I'm the only entrepreneur in my family. I mean,
Mm,
my brother is a CPA, an accounting firm. He's
mhm,
got the white picket fence, the dog, everything, and he's perfectly happy, and that's fine.
mhm.
Another brother who is a corporate job, working, works very, very long hours, but it's very, very corporate. And so it's just, I don't fit that mold. And I guess for me, when I reached that point, I went to school, I went to graduate school, I went to work. And then I realized very quickly at work, I was working at the Air Force Research Lab in Panama City, Florida, and working on some exciting research. But I realized, cubicles and a lab, no, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. It was get up every day, do the same thing over and over and over again, and it just wasn't for me. And I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to go get a PhD, to go to grad school. The Air Force wanted to send me, so they sent me to go get a PhD. I did that, and then it was like, uh-oh, you got to go to work. So I kind of had my I think I can moment was really the first job that I got out of after my postdoc, which was an oil and gas job. And I started working from home, telecommuting before it was cool to telecommute.
Yeah.
And um, and that second that I started working from home, I realized I'm never going to work outside of the house ever again. And so what do I do? And oil prices crashed in 2015. We had no revenue for a year. And I thought, okay, what am I passionate about? I think
Mm-hmm.
I can do this. I've always been passionate about health, even though through much of my life, I thought I was healthy by eating Subway as opposed to eating McDonald's. So I didn't really know. Most people listening think they're healthier than they are. I certainly did for a long time, even when I got healthier, and then I learned more and I got healthier. And you know what? Maybe 5 years from now, or maybe a year from now, I will look back and say I'm so much healthier today than I was, 5 years ago on that day in 2022. Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe. I think at this point
Right.
I've learned enough. But or obviously you continue to learn, but yeah, I feel like I've optimized my health finally. But it was a kind of, I think I can, in terms of, if I'm going to do something I'm passionate about, now is the time. And so I started getting involved with health. I was involved with a business importing snack bars from Ecuador. That business didn't really make it here in the U.S. They're still cranking out pretty well in Ecuador, but in the U.S. Didn't quite make it. But it's just, you try things, try that, try the fitness business. Started a nonprofit. Nonprofit works with another nonprofit. Nonprofit's called the Mentors Who Move, and the idea is to get kids emotionally invested in some form of wellness. And we partner with another nonprofit called the Daily Mile, and we have relationships with over 2,000 schools in over 80 countries to essentially demonstrate for kids the importance of an active, healthy, wellness-centered lifestyle. And so, the more and more I started getting into health, and people started asking me about my own journey. I stepped on a scale one day and weighed 200 pounds, and that was unacceptable for me. And I was 40 pounds heavier than I am now today, as I sit here and talk to you. And it was a journey, though, because I didn't know how to eat. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. We live to eat. We don't eat to live. And there are people that say you should eat to live. But I will tell you, Luella, to this day, even today, even though my health is completely optimized, I'm eating real food every day. I'm eating whole food every day. And pretty much I'm only eating real food and whole food. But I still, to this day, live to eat. I love to eat. I live to eat. Eating is a hobby. Eating. I don't think you have to sacrifice that. A lot of people feel like you have to sacrifice your love for food and your love for eating in order to live your optimal health. And you don't have to sacrifice it. You can have both.
So like you're saying that you can actually change, because I think a lot of that is actually having a new a new awakening to different tastes, and that you actually can start enjoying food that you thought you could never enjoy, aka kale, broccoli. I mean, it's like, a piece of fruit rather than a Snickers bar. So
I would use chocolate as an example. I had a conversation the other day about we were talking about milk chocolate versus dark chocolate. And of course, there's white chocolate, which isn't even chocolate. But don't get me started on that one. But ultimately, and there were people saying, "Oh, 75% is the highest I can go. I just can't do higher than 75%." And certainly, I've been there. There was a time in my life when I would have uttered those same words, right? And certainly you can try 100%, and you may think, most people would think, bro, it's bitter as can be. I got a 63-year-old guy I'm working with now, and he told me he tried 100%. He was like, whoa, that was awful, right? And that's fine. But yes, you can get to a point. So today, as I sit here on, in 2022, January 2022, the only chocolate I eat is 100%. If it's not 100%, I don't like it. It's too sweet. Right. So, that's what I like. But that doesn't mean that I go out and tell other people, oh, you should only eat 100%. That's the worst advice ever.
Right.
I didn't just put my fingers and start eating 100%. I started at 70. And I inched it up to 72, 75, 80. You gradually work your way up. Chocolate is a critical component of maintaining optimal health because it allows you, and it essentially takes care of any cravings that you might have. You have to, as humans, we have to treat ourselves. We're naturally built to, kind of to want salt, sugar, and fat, right?
Yeah.
So we have to have that treat, right? And so even if you say you don't like 100% because you want to spit it out, no, most people would. What do you think about 80%? What do you think about 70%? Ultimately, there's some percentage where you can settle at that you do like, and then you can gradually, very slowly, very patiently, gracefully get a little bit higher, and then eventually, you end up in this place where you never thought you'd be, which is now loving 80%, 90%, 100%. And then you think, and I get clients all the time who say, I can't believe it. I tried that 70% that I used to try, and it's too sweet. I had to spit it out. It was horrible. But they used to love it. They loved it for 20 years, and now they don't like it anymore.
So what you're saying as an optimization expert is that the way you do your work with clients is small steps, Would you say that's key for you is small steps? Or do you ever have a client that you just have to kind of go, no, man, we're cutting that out, or we're adding this in, no matter who, it's
Yeah.
not always cutting things out either, but
It's usually more about adding things in, right?
mm-hmm,
If
mm-hmm,
I give you enough fiber and enough fat, you ain't gonna want a lot of other things. You're not gonna have a lot of room for it, right?
right.
So it's definitely more about adding than cutting out. It's more about trying to achieve intake of the rainbow and serving foods that serve you, right? Than it is to
Mm-hmm.
cut them out. Because cutting them out, now it's like the forbidden fruit. We're just telling ourselves that I can't have it, I can't have it. Well, that just makes us want it more, right?
Exactly.
So so typically we don't go too much to cutting it out. But to answer your question, go baby steps. That depends. It's completely customized. Every person is customized. I mean, some people may never end up liking 100% chocolate. Some people, but I can guarantee you, everybody will like more than 50%. Right?
Right.
That's not the optimal amount for anybody.
Right.
Um, I'm happy to prove that to anybody who wants that test. But some people, yes, it takes baby steps. Some people are like, throw it at me. I can go, I want to go cold turkey starting today, and we can try it that way. Personalities are different. Some people have addictive personalities. Some people have very, very, calm, graceful personalities that are much more receptive to very slow, patient change. But even all of this, even as slow as we go, even if we go as slow as can be, we can, it never takes more than a couple of months. I mean, usually the process is the first month is like putting training wheels on a bike and teaching you how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
The second month is we're going to take the training wheels off, but we're going to hold on to the handlebar for you, right? And we're going to kind of
Mm-hmm.
watch you. The third month is we're going to let go of the handlebar and watch you fall. You will fall. You will
Yeah.
fall. But we're going to watch you fall, and we're going to hold the handlebar again to then demonstrate that you can do this on your own. And so by the end of 3 months, you're flying away on your own. You're leaving the nest, and you don't need any more real. You may need some accountability support. You may want accountability, want some extra support, but
Mm-hmm.
you have all the tools you need to essentially live your optimal life and in your optimal health, which again is different for everybody, but you have
Yeah.
all the tools that you need.
Yeah. Would you say men are more the ones that just like give it to me? Give it to me, Patrick. Like tell me what to do. And women are a little bit more cautious, and maybe like, well, no, that doesn't really work with me. I tried that. And
Definitely.
yeah. And maybe like do you get your clients to track their food intake? Like let's say even if it's a week or something, or do you just go, okay, that
Completely. I 100% vehemently disagree with food tracking or calorie counting.
interesting. Why is that?
It cultivates a poor relationship with food.
Mm,
Because what are you teaching? What are you learning? What do first of all, I have yet to meet a human being who wants to count calories and track their food for their whole life. Now, there are some people who want to do it, like I'm on a diet, I'm going to be good about this, I'm going to do it. They want to do it for maybe a month, 2 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. But there's nobody who wants to do that for the rest of your life. What fun is that?
no.
I mean, in life, if you're going to be successful at anything, whether it's business, whether it's family, relationships, it doesn't matter. If it's not fun, you eventually, you will decide this is no longer for me. And so it's the same with food. So I strongly disagree with tracking food, tracking calories, with restricting food, right? With portion control. And people talk about portion control, drive me nuts. When I was overweight, I can remember people telling me what I should do and shouldn't do, as opposed to listening to me, as opposed to trying to figure out the right way, the optimal way. It was, you shouldn't go back for a second plate. You shouldn't go back for that extra piece of pizza. You shouldn't. No, fuck all that noise. Eat as much chocolate as you want. Every single one of our clients eats as much chocolate as they want. They eat as much food as they want. They're never restricted. Not one single day restricted. In fact, there's not one single day where they feel unsatisfied. The more you're satisfied, the more it leads to satisfaction. So it snowball effects on itself. And so if you're dissatisfied and you're restricting yourself in some way, or you're doing something unpleasant as it relates to food, whether that be counting, tracking, restricting, whatever, you're cultivating a poor relationship with that. In this case, we're talking about food, with food, but it certainly applies to every other aspect of your life.
So how does this shift happen then, though? I mean, if you know, if they're addicted to their whatever, their Oreo cookies, or like, I mean, how, like you're saying, no, I need you to be happy. I need you to be satisfied. So how do you make that shift then?
So I'll give you an example, right? But it does depend on the person. It depends on the kind of personality you're dealing with, right? If it's an addictive personality, or go ahead.
Can I interrupt and ask, how do you assess that? Like, is it that in the first session, are you able to sort of kind of go, okay, I know you, I know where you're going with this, and this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, that doesn't take long. You can figure that out pretty fast. Well, some of them will just flat out tell you they have a history with drugs or alcohol or whatnot, or smoking. So you can kind of gather that, or you know, we want to know about their, this doesn't work if you're not willing to be, well, let me back up. The more open and honest you are, the more efficient this whole process is. If you're holding things back about your relationships, poor relationship with your dad, or you know, habits around, you know, binge eating, or around you know, smoking, drinking, any of those things, drugs, the more open you are about those things, the faster and more effective and more efficient we can move, right? So we can figure that out pretty fast, the personality part. That's not hard. And then it's about meeting them where they are. Now, you know, some people, like, you know, so some people are, like you said, are much more comfortable with moving in a you know, kind of quitting everything right now and just start me fresh, and I'll go cold turkey with all the things that I don't want, that aren't serving me, and I'll go new with the things that you recommend. Some people, most people are not, though. Most people, it's a gradual look into their habits, right? And so, you know, you talk about these things. So ultimately, their addiction to Oreos stems from mindless behavior, right? So it's they're going through the motions. They're not thinking about the Oreos. In fact, there have been studies that have shown that if you're right-handed, right, and if you can't any longer eat Oreos, if Oreos are a problem, or holding you back, I should say, and if you then are restricted from eating Oreos with your right hand, you can eat as many Oreos as you want, but you got to use your left hand. People will actually eat less Oreos because they got to use their left hand. Now, by the same token, if you tell them Oreos are killing you, Oreos are the reason you're obese, or Oreos are the problem, whatever, any of those words, it will have zero effect. You can even demonstrate for them that this Oreo is linked to this disease, and you are predisposed for this disease. You can spell it out for them. You can use smoking. You can use whatever. And I think the study was done with smoking, where they basically said, you know the dangers of smoking. This is the risk. These are the dangers. You know, the lung cancer, everything else. This is the problem, right? So this is what's going to happen to you if you don't stop smoking. Right? That had very little effect. That's an education component. That's still educating people on where they are and the effects and the impacts of that behavior. But you know what had more of an effect? Telling them that they could no longer smoke inside. Telling them that they could only go to designated smoking areas, because now you're inconveniencing them. Yeah. And so, and I forget the study, I saw it, you know, I can dig it up and send it to you, but it was really fascinating because, and this is why it irritates the crap out of me when I'm on social media, whether it be LinkedIn or otherwise, when I see people just preaching about, you know, oh, get up and work out today, or, oh, you know, health is wealth, or, you know, or, you know, don't live to eat to live, you know, and all these statements that mean nothing. People think they're doing good. Coaches, health expert, whatever you want to call them, they think they're helping. They think they're getting, you know, but they're not, because all you're doing is, I can remember, like I said, when I was overweight and you told me what I should do and what was good and what was, it pushed me in the opposite direction.
Yeah, exactly. I always say what resists persists.
Yeah,
You tell me what I can't eat, and that's the first thing I'll think of when I wake up in the morning.
exactly.
So yeah, I think you hit on a very key point here is that I think, to be honest with you, I think a lot of people are very informed. It's almost too informed. Everywhere we look, we're being told what's healthy for us and what's not healthy for us, or the superfood. So yeah, it's almost, it's distasteful in a way, I find, because it does take you away from just the act of eating and enjoying food. Like, since when has it become, an experiment with my microbiome? Like, do I have enough fiber? Oh, I need some more colors on my plate. It's sort of like, just eat the damn food.
So ultimately, now what you're hitting on, though, and this is where it all comes together, but now what you're hitting on, though, is that most people don't enjoy their food. Most people feel guilty about what they're eating for whatever reason, because of what you just said, because I'm not getting enough fiber. Am I getting enough protein? Am I getting enough this? Oh, this is too many carbs, whatnot. So they have all of these thoughts and feelings that are not serving them about their food, when if they would enjoy it, and if they would appreciate it, and if they would be thankful for the fact that they have food, and they would understand the benefits of the food instead of worrying about all those other things, then their whole life changes, right? So it's hard to pinpoint on exactly where to start, because I've had clients that we start we hit them with dietary changes right away. Right.
Yeah.
I've had clients where we don't do that for weeks, and we first start working on that first hour every morning, and just look at the habits in that first hour every morning. Because most people when they wake up in the morning, the first thing they do is they grab the phone. Not because they have to, not because they have to report to work or report to their boss at 7 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock, whenever it is they wake up. They do it because they're not thinking about, what is this doing? I need this to serve me. Why am I doing it? And so back to the thing about eating Oreos with your left hand. Well, because what you do is, when you inconvenience somebody to that extent, they have to think about it. Right? Yeah. And if you have to think about the Oreos that you're eating because you're doing it with your left hand instead of your right, or your non-dominant hand, you're actually going to end up eating less. Because you're thinking about it. So right. Ultimately, all of these bad habits, and all of these, whether dietary habits or otherwise, is driven by mindless behavior. And if we can be more aware, the first step is becoming aware of what serves us. And not just food, right? Every aspect of what serves us. What are we listening to? Music that we're listening to? What the people that we're letting voices into our heads, right? What are we watching that serves us? For a long time, even after I completely cleaned up my diet, lost 40 pounds, felt amazing, right? Even after that, I found myself, Luella, after I would get up in the morning, after I would, just drink a ton of water, do a lot of intentional breathing, really feel amazing, right? After I would do that, an hour later, because I had kind of a personal goal that I was going to go without the phone for the first hour of waking up, right? And you gradually get there, right? But what I would notice is, after an hour, and it wasn't like, oh, it's an hour, let me grab the phone. It was never like that. But it was after an hour, I would pick up the phone and I would start mindlessly looking at news sites or looking at social media. And then it took me a while to realize, this is just as important as what I'm eating, as what I'm drinking, as the air I'm breathing, as the way that I'm breathing. Watching and reading what I'm reading on my phone is just as critical, because if I'm reading negative shit, if I'm reading shit that is making me feel less than ideal, then I might as well just go eat, whether it's Oreos or Doritos or whatever it is.
Yeah. No, I think you're, again, making me think that, I had a mentor in my training that she wrote a book. Her name is Marissa Peer, but Think Your Way Slim or something like that. And I think, like what you're saying is, it's kind of related to that. She feels, with the right thoughts in your head, you could think yourself slim. It kind of relates to, how do I identify myself? And that's, you also touched on that in terms of, do, do the guilt, if you're eating stuff that makes you feel guilty, that's a real good sign that it's probably not the food for you, because you want to, again, like, have a great relationship with food. You want to have good feelings. You want to have good thoughts when you're eating your food. So if something's making you feel guilty, that's an awakening that it's probably not the right thing for you. And maybe, what could you eat that's going to make you feel good about yourself and proud of yourself? And then that compounds, is what you said, kind of snowballs after that.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely what it's all about. It's much more aligned with how you feel than and it's people, especially women, but men too, right? They go through these, what I call the great weight roller coaster, which is you gain weight, you lose weight, you gain weight, you lose weight. You spend a lifetime. People spend a lifetime on this great weight roller coaster of gain weight, lose weight. Les Brown even said, famous motivational speaker, one of the top motivational speakers in the whole world, even said, I've lost 22 pounds several times in my life. He said it just like that. And he said, it's hard to lose weight. It's hard to maintain the weight loss. And excuse me, my thing is, look, I love Les Brown, but it's not fucking hard, Luella. It's not. It can be intimidating, yes. Okay. But if you approach it with the right mindset, and we can actually get you to a place where look, if you are trying to maintain a certain weight and it's hard, then good luck. That's energy. Even if you're able to do it, that is energy that is going towards maintaining a certain weight. That is energy that is not going towards becoming a better person, becoming a better parent, becoming a better businessman, making more money, whatever other, being better with relationships, whatever other aspect of your life you want. We have only a limited amount of energy.
Right.
So
especially when it comes to brain energy, our brains weigh 2% of our body mass, but take up 20% of our energy. So you're right. I say that too. There's only so much real estate you have in your mind in terms of, space and thoughts.
So you can't become the best version of you until you optimize your health. And when you optimize it, it becomes effortless. So if your health is effortless, now you can dedicate your energy towards all these other aspects. It's, you've heard the saying before, right? A healthy man wants a million things. An unhealthy man wants one thing.
No, I never heard of that.
Yeah, an unhealthy man just wants his health because all of his energy is going towards, and his thoughts are going towards, I just wish I had health.
Yeah, no, I heard my clients say that as well. It's I didn't realize how much energy went into, what's the next thing I'm going to eat, or should I eat this, or should I, it's, and always looking for the better diet or what's better for me, instead of just, so what for yourself, was it a shift in what is healthy food and what is not? Like, were you ignorant about that, or was it more of a behavioral?
It was an iterative process to figure out what best served me.
Okay.
I was a basketball player as a kid. I played basketball through high school. I didn't play at a college, but I played during college every day. I played during graduate school every day. So for 25 years of my life, I played basketball almost every single day. And so as I got older, into my late 20s, 30s, I had knee pain. I developed knee pain. I did have bursitis as a kid. I had bursitis at about 12 years old. That was very painful. And so I kind of, okay, you have bad knees. I was always told I have bad knees because I'm a basketball player. Basketball players are hard on their knees. That's what I was always told. I would get in the car and drive 4 hours on a family vacation or whatnot, and get out of the car with my joints just killing me, like, limping around, right? And it was just, you're getting old. That's what we're told. We're told that we're getting older. We're told that, It's just part of age. Getting old sucks. Aging sucks. You've heard all
Yeah.
the things. And so I got to a point where it was kind of like what we talking about. I think I can. I felt like I think this is not normal. I think I can actually do better. I think I can actually drive myself to a point where I don't have to live with joint pain, where I don't have to live with my knees being able to tell me how cold it is outside based on how my knees feel. Right.
Mhm.
And so, long story short, here I am today at 43. I have no more knee pain. I feel like I'm 23. I have zero pain. And so how did I start that process was your original question. And so it starts with, okay, what can I do? It's an iterative process on yes, I did educate myself on what are the foods that are more inflammatory than others. So I could kind of identify inflammatory foods are probably going to inflame my joints. And that's one thing that, yes, when you go to graduate school and you get a doctorate degree, you learn how to learn. So I learned how to do research. I learned how to discover the value of certain foods and the benefits, even for people who don't know that and aren't quite sure, because school sure doesn't teach us how. Traditional school sure doesn't teach us much
No.
about planning, right? And so, but I was able to get a little bit of a head start there because I knew that dairy, for example, was a natural inflammatory food. Milk,
Yeah.
yogurt, cheese was going to inflame my joints, and so I thought, okay, let me experiment around with that. I'd always had a relationship with alcohol, that I just, I can remember when I was 25 years old, I was in graduate school and just partying like crazy. And I called my mom and I was talking to her one day at my apartment. I can remember standing in the middle of my apartment on the phone with her. And I remembered making the statement. And so I said, Ma, I can't imagine going 1 week without getting wasted. And yeah, and I because we would go out and we would get wasted at least once a week. Usually it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, every week. But every now and then it was only once a week. But and she was so supportive. She was she didn't I think about it. I look back on it, I'm like, man, if that was me and my kid were calling me telling me that, I'd be scared shitless. I'd be like, what in the world? But of course now I know better, and now I have two kids of my own. But she was very supportive. She was like, "Oh, I don't know about that. That's not good. You be careful. You do you, whatever." She didn't start lecturing me. She didn't start telling me how horrible it was.
Right.
She was just there for me. She was supportive. She's like, "All right, I love you. I trust you. I'm sure you'll figure it out." Blah 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 kind of thing. Even though she did a little bit of be careful kind of stuff. And so the point is though that that's where I was. And
Yeah.
and so I also had to, everybody knows that broccoli is more nutritionally dense than a donut, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that alcohol is not the best thing self-serving for us, right?
Right.
And so that part of it, we all know those things, like you talked about earlier about the education component. We kind of know those things, right? So it was just kind of start here. Let's see how you feel after going a month with no cheese. Let's see how you feel after going a month with no yogurt. Let's see how you feel after going a month. Milk had already kind of upset my stomach. So I really wasn't a fan of milk anyway at that point. But let's see how you feel after going a week or 2 weeks without getting wasted, right? Let's see and kind of evaluate yourself on how you feel. That's it. That's the only metric. It's the only metric is how you feel. And so, do you have more energy? Are you sleeping better? What about your joints? How do your joints feel when you get up and move, when you go for a walk or whatnot? And so it was definitely a process, and it took me years. And so essentially what we do with Getting Fit Face is we basically take people to that process and we get them there fast. I mean, we have people, so different people are different. Like some people have 100 pounds to lose. There are people who lose 20 pounds in the first 2 weeks. There are people who maybe don't have a lot of weight to lose, but they start seeing the energy bump in the first 2 weeks, first 3 weeks, right? So the results can happen quickly because I've already done it. I've already taken, 2 years worth of a trajectory and an iterative process to kind of know, okay, this is what your body's saying. This is what your body's needs. And some people, look, I'm sitting here telling you this stuff about dairy and it's true. And for most people it applies, but not for everybody. For some people, they can continue to eat cheese and be perfectly fine. I could eat cheese. I just don't want it. My body tells me I mean, no, you know what that's going to feel like.
Yeah.
You know what this feels like. So give me the good stuff. It's like I'm drunk every day, Luella. It's like I'm high every day, but I'm not on any substances.
Right. Yeah. And people, it, do you feel like that's probably very motivating for people to connect with you though? It's the fact that, you know, you are incredibly optimistic about their health. You're not overly cautious about, oh no, this is bad food. You can't eat that inflammatory food. Gluten, oh my gosh, no, do not touch gluten, right? Like you kind of laugh, like, why? I mean, we were told it's awful, but that's not the key. That's not the key to change is
Yeah.
telling people what they can or cannot have. The key to change is
The key to change is being able to connect mind and body so that they can clearly understand how they feel. Because a lot of people don't understand, and a lot of people. I have a client right now who's like, he's like, I know these things. I know that I shouldn't binge eat these certain things. I even know right before I do it, yet I still do it. Right. And so the question is, and what he wants, and the reason why he signed up with us is because what he wants is just, I need that signal. He's like, as soon as I start eating and then when I'm done, I regret it. Right. He's
yeah.
like, I need that feeling of I'm going to regret this, like before I start. So I need you to move me up like 30 seconds to a minute. Just can I get that feeling? And you can. And the way that you get there is by so we got to increase your awareness. Right. How do we do that? We do that by making that mind body connection, right? Because your body's always trying to talk to your mind, always. Even if you're the most obese person on the planet, your body's trying to talk to your mind. You just don't hear it. It's like it's like having a computer that's not plugged in, right? Or having a vacuum cleaner trying to vacuum the floor without plugging it in. The wires aren't connected. Once you connect the wire, once you make that connection, and your awareness level shoots through the roof, and you're able to listen to your body and understand, okay, this serves me, this doesn't. And look, there's no perfect diet out there. There's no one perfect diet. Yeah, there are people who can say, oh, Mediterranean diet, oh, keto, oh, this diet, that diet, pagan diet, right? There's no one perfect one. There is a perfect diet out there for you. There is a perfect diet for me, right? Each individual has their own perfect diet and their own optimal diet. That's what the journey is about. The journey is about, okay, let's identify your perfect diet. You don't even have, there's no perfect weight. There's no perfect BMI. We have people all the time who are like, wait a minute, my goal was 225 and I weigh 210 and I'm not even trying to lose weight. What's happening? And it's like your body is taking you to where it's optimal place of where it wants to go.
Exactly. You actually remind me of I've had teenagers in my house and let's say they want to bulk up, right? They want to get big in the gym and they go to the scale and it's I find it so hilarious because they'll weigh and they'll be like, I dropped weight. Like, it's like, and they're so angry, but it's exactly what you're saying. Women, it's completely different, but their body is saying, no, man, this is your optimum weight. Like, and we're going to keep on pulling you there. So stop fighting it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And kind of, not to get too scientific-y, but, when we talk about entropy, right, and the sort of the more, comfortable state of the world, it's like if you have a garage and, your garage, you can go out and organize your garage, make it all completely neat and perfect. And, a week later, a month later, if you got kids, especially, the garage is a mess. Entropy, the least resistant place for that energy to go is to essentially allow the mess to occur. And so oftentimes we do that with our own bodies, and especially women. And the reason I bring that up is because, a lot of times the problem with women is the lack of grace, right? And the lack of giving themselves permission to make mistakes, to be patient, right?
Hmm.
I'm not perfect. I don't look like that model or this model or whatnot. And there's a friend of mine who I was just texting with her the other day, and she was telling me how I was asking how she was doing. The universe told me to send her a message, and it was weird. I don't know why, but I just did. I checked on her, and she struggled with weight her whole entire life. And she told me, she said, I told her, I said, the universe told me to text you to see how you're doing. So that's what I'm doing. And she said, the universe is very wise. She said, I had a backslide over the holidays, and it's been tough. I'm trying to do better, this, that, and the other. Um, and, and then we kind of had a text exchange back and forth. And she said, you're very supportive and sensitive by text. And then I said, well, I've seen enough of it. I know kind of what holds you back and what doesn't hold people back and what doesn't. And she says, yeah, she said, and she texted me, and the exact text was, nothing makes me eat more than guilt over a backslide. Right. And
Mm.
so beating herself up, essentially, feeling guilty about how you weren't perfect, or you didn't maintain the track you wanted to maintain over whatever period of time it was, uh, drives you to your old habits. It drives you to the most comfortable state in that moment, which is just eat, because that's what I know how to do. That's what I've done my whole life. Also, we haven't talked about it yet, but now you get into, and I'm deviating a little bit, but now you get into attachments and associations, right? And we associate,
Exactly.
there are certain feelings that we associate with eating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 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 Cultural habits, just habit. Yeah. Habit is the key, I think, with what you're saying. You have to realize what is just a habit, a behavior, and what is, something that I actually need or really want to do.
Yeah. And
Um,
well, you see, there are a lot of people that want it. Um, and it's like this lady here, right? I mean, she's a friend. She knows,
mhm.
she knows what I do.
Yeah.
She's 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 thought about it before,
Yeah.
but 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 has never taken the leap. I can't take the leap for her. I can't
No.
force her to take the leap. Her daughter's friends with my daughter. She's got 4 kids. I can't do it. I can't. I
Yeah.
can't. I can't force her to do it. So why does she not take that leap? Why does she? Some people feel like they can do it by themselves, right?
Mhm.
Some people just they don't know any other way. They
Yeah.
know they know no other way, right? It's like, take a homeless person. He only knows being homeless, unless, in some cases, right? Some cases, obviously, they've been in a house and then they end up homeless. But
Yeah.
but you only know what you know. And until this is where it all starts, with your habit and with your mind, and that mind body connection. Because until you recognize and connect with yourself, and recognize and allow yourself to be creative, and recognize that, wait, I think I can. Wait, there
Mhm.
is more, right? Until you actually recognize that there's another way, or the possibility. You don't even have to recognize there's another way. You just have to acknowledge that it's possible that there's another way.
Yeah.
And once you do that, you're on your way. How to get people to acknowledge that, that's what I try to do every day, by speaking and trying to, inspire. It's the approach is fail proof. Okay. Every single person who has ever gone down this path sees success and ends up in a place where they're living effortlessly, and zero of their energy is going towards concern about food, concern
Yeah.
about diet. But they have to first want to do it. They have to first acknowledge that it's possible that everything could change.
Yeah. So believing in themselves, believing that there is
A
another
better
way.
way. A better
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Because I agree with you. I mean, sometimes I have people coming to me too, is, saying they want to stop thinking a certain way, or they want to, I would say no, everybody wants it, but yes and no. When it's an example, such a behavior such as smoking, I don't know. Sometimes I question, they might come to rid that addiction, but they have to really ask themselves in a very deep way, do I want to stop? Do I really want to stop smoking? Or do I feel that, I should be seeing you? I should be trying to move towards that direction. But deep down inside, sometimes I wonder if they feel that they can actually, that they can maybe get, what's the word? Um, get by with doing it and not affect their health. Like maybe in some way they have this, oh, I knew, Mr. Jones who lived to be 90 and smoked and ate bacon every day of his life, and sometimes I think they feel like maybe they're invincible in that sense. So then I have to ask, do you really want this, or is this something your partner's been asking you to do, or um like that takes some time, I think, to figure out, do they actually want it, or or are they just doing it because they feel like they should be doing it?
Yeah, and so I mean, I've seen both sides of it, right? My grandfather smoked when he was younger. Went to the doctor. Of course, this is his version of the events, but I don't know why he would lie to me. But went to the doctor, and doctor told him that he needed to quit smoking, or he was going to get lung cancer. And that moment in the doctor's office, he took his pack of cigarettes, threw them in the garbage, and walked out. Right, and never smoked again in his life. Now, I have another friend who is a smoker, and I don't tell him anything about it. He does it, whatever. But he's had conversations with me before and said, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit on Monday. I'm gonna quit on Monday. It's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to the wife. It's just not fair to them. It smells. It's my health. I'm the breadwinner. I'm the only one. Actually, I'm the only one who works. So I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna do it. I made the decision. 2, 3 years later, no, he hasn't quit anything, right? So, I think the key is, though. So now it's I think creativity and allowing yourself the vision. I think the biggest key is for somebody like that, when you talk about smoking, or any habit, is okay. What can you paint me a picture of what your life looks like 20 years from now, 10 years from now? Pick a time if you quit today, right? What does it look like? What does your life look like? What kind of picture are you painting, right? And then paint me a picture of what it looks like if you don't quit today, right? If you're still smoking in 20 years, right? And paint those pictures and see how those pictures are different, and then try to stoke emotion within those pictures. If you can get them to bake long enough in that really, really positive vision picture, they will go that direction.
Yeah.
Go that direction. But another problem is that you could so I gave you two scenarios. One scenario is, okay, what if you quit today? What does it look like in 20 years? And then, okay, what if you don't quit and you're still smoking in 20 years? I think what a lot of them think is, well, I'm not going to be smoking in 20 years. I'll quit next year. I'll quit in 2 years. I'll quit in 5 years. Because ultimately, let's be honest. If I'm 40 years old, whether I quit smoking at 40 or 41, it doesn't matter.
No. Right. Good point.
So I think we convince ourselves of that, and that's what gets in the way. It's not the black and white options that I just presented, but there's still power in presenting and painting that picture and getting them to paint it in their own words, with their own feelings of what that picture looks like in 20 years or X number of years if they were to quit today. And then eventually get them to recognize, wait a minute, I'm not going to have that picture at this rate.
Right.
That picture is going to be gone. So
I think you mentioned something important there, is get the emotion behind it. Don't just think the thought, of you being, addiction free of whatever that substance might be. It's start feeling the feeling behind that. And I think a lot of that, again, is how you're identifying yourself as a person. I'm not a smoker. I'm not I'm someone who has a great relationship with food. I simply eat when I feel the need to eat, and eat food that brings me good feelings. And well, you got to be careful there, because sometimes there's the endorphin high, or of sugar or whatever, but just gives me long-term good feeling about myself. I feel satisfied, I feel wholesome, I
No,
feel.
I think even short term, I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't care if it's a donut. But the thing is, when you're eating a donut, you're probably going to feel guilty about it, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking, okay, it gives me a sugar high and endorphin. I don't know anybody who's eating a donut thinking this is But of course, if you're running a marathon or something, if you're running
Hmm.
a marathon and you just got done running a marathon and you need something fast, maybe a
Hmm.
donut's good for you, right? So
Right.
that's just why we don't say good and bad, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
because it depends on you. Also, you could be, what if you're gonna act in a play or in a movie or something and you got to gain 25 pounds in two
Hmm.
weeks, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And donuts are great. Go get them,
Hmm.
right? So it's
Yeah.
all I think it still goes back, and I don't think there are any exceptions. If you legitimately get in touch with your feelings and you legitimately feel good in that moment while you're eating that food, then you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Now, if you go and you eat, let's stick with the donut example. If you go and you eat 10 donuts in a day, you ain't going to feel good. You're
No.
going to you're going to get sick at some point, right?
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so one donut, okay, not the end of the world. But the other thing is, the more that you figure out the foods that really make you feel best. And this is what happens. This is what happens on the journey that we take people on. They figure out and learn the foods that make them feel the best. And what that does is, then when they go back to the foods that don't make them feel the best, the feeling and the recognition of the feeling and the gap is even more pronounced. And they recognize that. And so now you're getting into awareness. And the whole key to all of this is being aware of how each food serves them.
Hmm.
And the better they feel, and the more they recognize how amazing they feel with foods that serve them, the more they recognize how awful they feel with foods that don't serve them. And then they make the decision themselves. I'm going to avoid this because it doesn't serve me.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So, like, describe. So you mentioned that it takes, like, normally about 3 months or something like that, working with a person, and you said something like it never fails, which is, that's really good to hear. So what would that look like if someone contacted you, and you talk about a team too, so it's not just you. What's a typical client, let's say, and how, what does that look like?
Typically, I mean, it's hard to say typically, right? Because
Yeah.
we've had such a wide variety. I mean, weight loss is a common thing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, they want to lose at least some weight. Some people want to lose 25 pounds. Some people want to lose 200 pounds. The other thing is funny is when you're talking to people and talking to them about their goals and about what
Yeah.
they want, they will almost always shortchange themselves, right? They
Mm.
may they may be 5'10", 280 pounds, and then they'll tell you, it's like, okay, what's your goal? And then they'll tell you, oh, I would love. Some of them come out and say it. Some of them come out and say, oh, I would love to get down to 200, love it, but realistically, I'll be happy if I get to 230, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some of them will actually tell you that. Now, most won't. Most will just come out and say, oh yeah, my goal, 240. And I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, you're that tall. Yeah. All right, maybe. I said, but are you shortchanging yourself? And then they admit it. And then they'll admit, oh yeah, well, because that seems really I'm trying to be realistic, right? So
Well,
we always shortchange ourselves. We do that in business too. We do that when in terms of revenue for businesses, for money that we make. We do that in life.
it's true fear of failure.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it's so a lot of times it's weight, but a lot of times it's the other. I guess the second most common would be energy. Like, I just need the energy.
Mm.
I got kids. I can't keep up with my kids. I want to be able to go to the park with them. Like, when they ask me to do certain things, I want to be able to participate and experience those things with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably the second biggest thing, especially when it comes to parents, is they just recognize that they don't have the energy to keep up with their kids.
Yeah.
And I guess if there was a third, it would be kind of, medical concerns.
Mm.
The doctor wants to give me all these medications and all these medicines and whatnot. Ultimately, the type of person who is happy with a pill to solve a problem, whether it's blood pressure, cholesterol, whatnot, ultimately that person is not our type of person, because they want a magic pill. And this isn't a
Mm-hmm.
magic pill type of process. We're happy to work with people who are on pills, no doubt. We
Mm-hmm.
evaluate, look at their medications, look at all the side effects, no doubt. But it's got to be somebody who sees the benefit and the value of getting off of those pills,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not only in terms of money that they're saving, but in terms of the side effects that they're experiencing with those pills. And
Yeah.
that's just noise that's getting in the way of that mind-body connection that we talked about. The less
Right.
pills you're on, the less noise there is, the more you can hear. So
Right.
those are probably the three biggest reasons why people come to us. And essentially we meet them, like I said, where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are, I mean, the 63-year-old guy I'm working with now, he was into, even before I met him, deep meditation.
Mm.
This guy has a metaphysical room in his house that he consecrates every month. Okay. Before I even met him. Right. And he say it's a sacred place for just metaphysical purposes. He's really into metaphysics. And he does deep meditation in there every night. And when he meditates, he feels amazing. He feels like a rock star, right? But the rest of, I asked him, so what percentage of, obviously you wouldn't have reached out to me if you were just feeling that amazing every minute of every day.
Right. Right. Good point.
So what percentage of the day are you feeling like that? Where you're 99% vibrating and feeling amazing? And he said, 20, 25%. And that was shocking to me, because this is a guy who's like a master at meditation, yet his whole day is spent in this lower state, and he's aware of the gap, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, my diet sucks. I got this, I got that, I got sleep apnea, I got the blah, 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 all these things. And so with him, for example, we don't have to teach him how to breathe. He knows how to breathe. He's a very good breather, right? So, but for a lot of people, we may start with breathing. And then, like I said before, a lot of people will start with, like, let's evaluate how your sleep, what's your sleep look like? Because, sleep can impact our cravings during the day.
Totally.
Right? There are hormone imbalances and everything that can come. So sleep is a big deal for being able to regulate your desire for certain foods during the day. So it just all of a map in terms of where to start.
Okay. Makes sense. Well, I feel like I should probably let you go. So, anything else you want to kind of share with the audience in terms of, your website or, about yourself?
No, I mean, I guess the only thing I would share is that anybody can do this, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can do this. And the more people that do this and get to that place where they are living in their optimal health, whatever that means for them, the better world we create for our kids. And that's ultimately why I started doing this, because of my kids. I'm not some, good Samaritan who, I have a nonprofit, but I didn't start the nonprofit because I'm, some extreme giver out there. I mean, I'm completely honest with you. I started the nonprofit because I recognize that if we can get kids emotionally invested in some form of wellness, those are the kids that are going to be in 20, 30 years, the presidents of our major companies, the policymakers, politicians, whatnot. So literally the world changes. And if I didn't have two kids of my own, maybe I would if I had nieces and nephews, which I do. So maybe I would, but if I didn't have that recognition that, wow, we need to change the world for their sake, because my kids are going to be the lovers and the friends of your kids and everybody out there's kids. So that's ultimately, and each of us, there's, no matter who we are, this is what I'll leave you with. No matter who we are, there's somebody out there that looks up to us. And a perfect example, it happened to me. I was at a Walgreens a few months ago, and I was in there, and I was in the pharmacy section, and there was a guy that walked up, and when you go to pharmacy, they ask you for your birthday, and this guy spoke loud, and so I heard him say March 14th, 1931. And I don't remember the exact day. I think it was the 14th. It was some March of 1931. And I looked at this guy and I said, "You look amazing for 90 years old." And he responded and said, "And you're good at math." Right. And so we shared a laugh, and I was like, "Wow, you're witty too, right?
Yeah.
So you're sharp." And I was like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, "Actually, you can go outside. I'm going to be done here real quick. You can go outside and just wait outside. I rode my bike here. So just wait by my bike, and I'll come out there and we can talk and get a picture." And all. I was like, "Wow. Okay, great." So I go outside, I wait for the guy, buy his bike.
Yeah.
90 years old, rode his bike to Walgreens.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it was like 2.5 miles away from his house, but still,
yeah.
Right. And so we meet, we talk. Turns out he's got a PhD in like economics or something. He was in the Navy. He went skydiving for his 90th birthday. He lives here in Miami. Went skydiving for his 90th birthday. And he's going to do it on his 91st birthday too. Now the guy's name's Jack. I'm friends with the guy now.
Yeah.
I went to his house. I met his wife. I met his dog. But that guy, just by walking into Walgreens that day, inspired me, because here's a 90-year-old who's riding his bike to Walgreens. And so, that's ultimately what, if each of us would remember, because we will let ourselves down 5 ways from Sunday, right? We're not going to get up off the couch for ourselves, but for other people, we will move mountains for other people. And so,
it's true. So you're saying like start young, and and let us be the mentors of our children, right? Because they're studying our habits all the time.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And that's super important.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Patrick. It's been a lot of fun. Like you are incredibly enthusiastic. I can tell you love your work, and I think you are doing exactly what you need to do in life, right? That you can tell that you love what you're doing. So there's no better work than that.
Yeah.
And and encourage my listeners to reach out to you, and if they want to make that change, because I honestly, like you hit it perfectly when you talk about it's all the feelings that are connected at that time of, whether it be food or any other behavior you want to change. Like what are you feeling in that moment? And if you're not feeling good about it, you shouldn't be doing it. So, okay. Take care and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Luella.
You're welcome. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks once again for joining me on another great episode of I Think I Can podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe below so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And until next week, treat each day like it was your last, because each new day is a privilege that we shan't take for granted. Cheers and have a great week. Bye-bye.